Well, I hope this has given you food for thought. I thank you for listening. There's a lot there. There's actually so much more, but I'm not going to be able to, we're not going to go through all of it because I don't know all of it either. But things that I want you to take away, things that your teachers have done, relationship building, passion for and knowing what you're teaching and the content of it, on-time learning, patterns of learning. You know, you need to have a step up. You need to help people get from one level to another level. I want one more thing. When you're studying a book, and this is kind of relevant for this week, when you're studying a book, you are going to get lots of information. Okay, so like I've studied Isaiah and I've taught Isaiah. When I studied Isaiah, it was like I think 2001 when I initially did it, and I realized, oh my goodness, there's so much information here, and I don't know how to put a lecture together. So you initially have to study. I'm kind of going into what we're doing Wednesday, but so I was thinking when I was brainstorming my lecture, I was like, I used a mind map. You guys remember mind maps? Yeah, they're awesome. Okay, and I remembered all the things. Okay, Isaiah is kind of a key guy, and I kind of need to know him. I need some BRI stuff about what was going on when Isaiah was written. I need to actually talk about the authors, because there's all these things, author or authors, you know, are there 1, 2, 3, or 4 authors? When is it written? So anyway, that would be a part of the BRI. I wanted to look at sin. What was the sin that was being addressed? To who? Because there is actually not just the Israelites or the Jewish, Judahites, the Jews. Also the judgment. What did the judgment look like? Because there's tons of stuff on judgment in there. Okay? And then there's restoration. And there's all kinds of different, there's the physical restoration. And there's the spiritual or eschatological, or, and I actually put those down to like messianic and, you know, messianic and, what was the other one? Eschatological. Okay, so there's all this words, different words, and how to look at those words to figure out which one you're looking at. You know, the type of language that they're using, that Isaiah was using. And then also with this, there is the servant, which is also under servant songs. What is that? And then who is God in the middle of this? Okay? I think I had actually more than this. And so I was like, okay, these are all the things. I put it down on a mind map, and I said, what are the building blocks that I need to help put this in an order that people will get this? Okay?
Yeah.
And so I think I started with Isaiah, and I started with his calling, and went into Isaiah 6 and what happened and why that was so significant. Did some verse by verse in that particular part. And then went into the BRI information to build on it, and then I did actually do it in this order because that's I have it in my order on this. When I introduced the book, I said this is a mountain of a book. We're not going to look at every single detail because we can't. But so I had this big picture of a mountain, and I wrote, but we're going to look at the main ridges of the mountain. And so I had everything written on this thing, so it was a visual of that. And so then I went through the sin, and we did workshops on the sin. What kind of sin, who was sinning, because it wasn't just the Judahites. And then judgment, not just the judgment for, and also there's some judgment that's like bigger scope than just the different people groups. And then restoration, talked a lot, oh, sorry, we went through themes too. How could I forget? Because there's lots of themes in Isaiah. And then we did a ton about servant songs, and then we ended on God's character, because that is pretty much God's character. You can trust in God. Okay, so I'm kind of giving you an example of how when you study a book, you're going to get all these things. Step back, be big picture. What are all the things that these people need to know to come out understanding Isaiah and understanding why Isaiah was written and what is God? When we're teaching the Bible, it's like, what do we see about God? Because this is God's book. So we have to go back to what did we see about God in this book? So that should be a question for every book. Okay? Esther is kind of interesting because God's never mentioned. So why is that? So, okay. Kick her out. See, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I love this. So I hope you guys love it too. But anyway, so just so you guys kind of see a little bit of what I do with the on-time learning, even within a lecture.
Like the staircase.
Okay? Yeah, the staircase is huge. Patterns of learning, huge. Okay. All right. Any questions? I'm yakking away.
So.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting?
Yeah.
Different? Things to think about? Provocative?
I can't believe I've never seen Dale's Code of Experience.
I can't either.
Yeah.
I'm in shock.
That shall change.
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, I'll give you the one that we have for it. There's a big one that they have.
Okay.
I'll
Maybe
give
I'll
it to you. I have copies of it at home. When you come and get, do you need an illustration?
Yeah, I'll probably swing by.
Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to give you your assignment.
Yay. I'm actually excited for this one.
I'm actually
I'm
excited.
giving you all one of these.
I mean, I've been excited for the other ones, yeah, don't get me wrong, but.
There you go.
Oh, we decided to say.
So
SBS classroom? Yeah.
you are going to be teaching in an SBS classroom. It doesn't have to be the one here. It can be one on outreach. I mean, it would be perfect for Ukraine because you will be doing it there.
They
In
have
Nepal,
one,
they have one.
They have one in Pokhara. I
Yeah.
don't know if they'll be.
And you'll be doing it in Thailand, so big deal. One thing you might want to do today is write those people, like who's in the SBS. I think yours are all Nepali,
Yeah.
but Ukrainians, like, are they, ask Angela, hey Angela, who are the students in the Ukrainian SBS? Where are they from? Like how many of them are and where they're from, so that you have kind of an idea about your audience. And the same with Thailand, because they actually have lots of foreigners in there too. So, good to know. Okay? So you will choose one of these books. Now, I chose these books because they're shorter, easier to read and study. I was going to do Ruth, but actually I want Sarah to do something with Ruth, so we're not going to have Ruth, but next year. Jonah, Habakkuk, Ephesians, Colossians, 1 Thessalonians, 2 Timothy, Titus, 2nd or 3rd John. So you can choose one of those. If you've done a ton of study on another book and you're like, you know, I really want to do this book, then I'm okay with you coming.
Can I do Acts?
You do Acts. You will create an outline of teaching through a book of the Bible. So kind of like this. This is like a really rough outline. Okay, I did a rough outline for you. So you're going to need to take some time to study your book and then put an outline together. Do your mind map. Come up with the main points that you need to do. And you're going to have to... So in your outline, you're not going to actually do this outline. You're going to have an introduction. How you're going to introduce this book. We'll talk about this more on Wednesday with all these other people, but normally I study the book and I ask God, what do you want this audience to hear from this book? What's the key idea? What's the key idea? And that would be in my introduction. And it would also be my conclusion or part of my application, okay? Or it might be a lesser one of the main, like there might be 3 main things that you're saying through the book. You know, Acts is bigger, it could be one of the 3 main things, and so you take that thing that's overarching, but your main application is the main idea, okay? So how would you divide the book up to teach, which I kind of told you there. normally, I have, like, okay, I'm teaching Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday if it's a big book. If it's not, I don't do that, but I'll divide a piece of paper, or I'll make a table on my thing, and then I'll create like 1 hour to, the hours per, like what am I gonna cover in each hour, okay? So that's a way you can actually do this. You can say, okay, I'm gonna introduce intro of blah, 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 whatever the book is, intro that you're doing. And then, let's say you feel like you need to look at the author first. Okay, and then other BRI information. So that's all on the first day. And then, I'm just making this up. So, and then you go, okay, chapters 1, maybe you're looking at a theme, and then you're looking for, anyway, so whatever, you're gonna go, but the end one should be an application, okay?
If we're
It's hard
doing,
for me to do it when I don't have a book in my mind.
if we're doing, because most of these are smaller books,
Yeah.
then should we, like, on our
So you
outline,
just
should
have
we just do
3
one-
hours.
3 hours?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep,
so
for
3
all
hours.
these will be 3 hours,
Not a full week.
not a full week.
I was like,
did Ephesians.
No.
Ephesians
But
could be a
this
full
is
week.
something I want you to know, because you might have to do a full
Right,
week
right.
sometime.
So,
And sometimes, if
Yeah,
you're
that's
doing
good.
another topic like aquaponics, you'll have 5 days.
oh yeah.
So 5 days, you can put 5 days down with how many hours per day and what you're doing for each hour.
Yeah, that's good.
And then you're actually thinking, what's my objective for, my objective is to introduce them to
Concept.
this main concept, okay? My objective for this is that they get to know the author and what was the author going through and so on. My objective in the BRI is that they understand the historical background of when this book was written,
Okay,
okay?
so for this specific assignment, we don't need to worry about planning out a week, it would just be for planning out 3 hours, right?
Yes,
Like we did with
Yes.
devotionals or whatever it was that one time we
yeah,
had to
yes,
say.
Bible study,
Unless
Like
you're
Bible
doing a
study.
bigger book.
Unless you're doing a bigger book.
right, so he's gonna do Acts, so he's gonna
Have a whole week.
have a week.
Alright.
Cool, all right. So this is kind of you're kind of just explaining it here, all right? Then you're gonna take 30 minutes of the outline, so you're gonna have to make it a kind of a shorter bit. One of the shorter times that you're having in here, okay? And you're going to expound on that. It's not just gonna be the skeleton, you're gonna put all the meat and, muscles and everything in there. So, portion of the lecture will be on a passage, please do not do the basic required information hour, or whatever, because that is obvious, okay, we know that. What we want you to do is work at how do you work through the passage that we've used, okay? And so you're gonna have, and just like in preaching, you're gonna have an introduction to that bit, you're gonna have main ideas and points that are pulled out of the text, kind of similar to expository, verse by verse explanation, illustrations that emphasize that, personal stories, summary of main points of that section, application and conclusion for this portion of the scripture. Is that clear? You have a question?
Yeah, an introduction.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not gonna be as long as like this introduction.
yeah, okay.
This one is a big introduction.
Right. Because
This
like a
one
lot of
is-
times people will do like all of the background in the first hour and then they'll just jump into the text for it. And if we're gonna do part of a teaching on just that,
Yes.
it's hard to do like an introduction
Yeah. So-
and just jumping into this.
Exactly, and I agree.
Yeah.
So what you can do is kind of say, so you summarize what you did before,
Perfect, yeah, okay.
and you summarize what you did before, and you bring that into what you're doing now.
Yep.
Okay? Good point. All right, and I had one last thing on there. Please incorporate the learning styles in your teaching in this assignment. Tomorrow we're going through learning styles. So you're gonna see a lot more about them and understand a little bit more about them. And so I have written some that you can have in there: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, music, discussion groups, time of processing by themselves. Okay?
You don't need all of these in there, though.
No, but do,
I'm thinking 30 minutes.
no, yeah, you're not gonna be able to have them all, but you can do,
Those are good.
and actually, the best thing is to have them included in this part.
Okay.
Have it included in this part,
In which part?
The-
Introduction?
this part,
Oh.
the breakdown of your whole lecture,
Oh, I see, okay.
okay? The skeleton of
So we
it.
should at least do one in our teaching,
Oh,
at
like
least,
have them in the outline,
Mhm.
even if we're not gonna do them.
but at least show that we need
But have at least a couple.
the interaction,
you know.
okay.
I mean, I tried to get you guys doing drawing and discussions and,
I'll just pull out a YouTube